Welcome to another edition of the podcast. My name is Craig, and I am joined by
Angela.
Angela. How are you, Angela?
Good.
And Angela and I are the part of the two of the members of our three-person crew. Holly is still not able to join us. She works in bookkeeping, so this is a very busy time of the year for her. So hopefully, after I guess is taxes are due in April, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
After April, hopefully she'll be able to join us. I did my taxes early, finally this year, and didn't want to wait to the last minute because I wanted my money to find out if I had money to begin with.
Right.
So luckily, I got that done, and everything is good. How's your day out there in Illinois?
Good. It's beautiful outside. It's
Is
like,
it?
yeah. It's like I just got in from walking the dog. It's like 50 something degrees, which for here in February is unusual. Time of year. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 20 degrees or 10 degrees. So yeah,
I
for
did
us, it
see.
feels like summer.
I saw I don't know maybe it's on YouTube. I saw a video of a newscast or a meteorologist in Illinois or up in the north who was talking about the unseasonably warm weather and everything. And yeah, I guess it's, global warming. I guess I don't know what's going on, but everything is warmer. Last year, the trees were budding a lot earlier.
Here, the first thing you see come up are the daffodils.
Yeah.
And my friend said that hers are beginning to come up already. So that's early. Usually it's like March.
Oh, really? How long
Mhm.
is snow on the ground usually up there?
It can be on the ground as late as like early April
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, and March is kind of a little bit of a tease. Like you might have a few nice days, but then it snows again, and everyone is usually really depressed by March because we're ready for good, nice weather. So that's why March is difficult because it's like, is spring here finally? And then snow comes. Yeah. And some Easters are cold. Like I remember as a kid, like some Easters you can just go in your Sunday dress, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have to coat.
But again, welcome to the podcast. This is a podcast for people who are in business for themselves, who just want a little bit of a different perspective on things from two people who are also in business for themselves. Angela, kind of briefly describe what your business is, what you do.
I'm a visual artist, but I'm in the process of creating my own brand.
I hate to put you on blast, but I know after our last episode, you did not want to hear, you did not want to see yourself, you did not want to critique yourself at
Yeah.
all. And, I understood it because I feel like artists, like true artists, they want
Mhm.
the attention on the work. You know, I'm like a huge Prince fan. I've been a Prince fan for all my life, right? And I remember, especially when early in his career, he would never take questions personal, like personal questions. It was always about
Yeah.
the music, the music. And so when you said you were so critical in yourself, I said, you know what, I understand because she feels more comfortable about the work, about the thing of
Mhm.
art. That's like that's comfort for her. And even when I was listening back, I'm not an artist at all. I have none of that stuff going on in my life. But listening back to myself, I was like, okay, I need to work on a few things. I need to work on a few things. And but it
Yeah.
was our first one, and I thought it turned out pretty well. I think it really did, just from the discussion point of it. And hopefully the comments will start coming in, and people can tell us if there's any improvement from the last episode to this episode. Give us
Mhm.
if you're a professional speaker, if part of what you do is speaking to people, give us some tips and some hints also. We would love to kind of get some feedback from people who do this for a living or who do this often. I really like the topic for this week, Angela. I'm going to get right into it. I really liked it. We've talked about this before in our meetings, just kind of briefly, but I like when we
Mhm.
circle back to things. I like when we circle back to discussions because it gives us a chance to see how we've grown, to see if things have changed, to see if we have used some of those things that we learned in the past and implemented them. And we can talk about, how it has impacted you for good or bad. So I'm glad we're talking about this topic today. I'm glad that you brought it up. Tell us what the topic is, tell us why you chose it, and then tell us what the topic is. Like what are we talking about?
I've been more interested in search engine optimization and how it works. I come from a generation where this is all new to me. And I've been struggling with it now for a year. Learning that, for instance, when I post a JPEG on as a listing, rather than leave the title of the image as just JPEG, whatever numbers, that if you put words with lines in the title of that image, the search engine will use that image. Does that make sense to you? So like if someone types in mythology, which is a theme I've been working with, and a specific story, and I've done an illustration for that story, it's possible then that image will show up in the image, which will only help exposure.
You've actually done that?
Well, it's something I'm working with right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went through and changed all of my the photos for my listings and created an actual title for the photo for the file.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah. And then another thing I was reading is, well, it had me thinking about whether I've made much of an effort to to make it known that I'm a local, because my shop is online. My mind was thinking, broader than that. But why haven't I, like, for instance, Google Business, why haven't I registered my business with them? And so that people can identify my business as being something local. I'm always confused too, the trend regarding hashtags, because it seems like earlier people would load up on hashtags under an Instagram post, and now in some artists that I'm following on Instagram don't use any, and others just like 2 or 3. And I read that the trend now is to use less. So then I'm like, well, how can I really pack some power behind that? Like if I'm only able to choose a few, it's difficult to know like what's trending for the very best hashtag for my product.
And it's when you say trending, it's different from, like you'll say this fashion thing is trending. This color is trending this year. But when it comes to digital, like search engines and things like that, what makes it trend? Because it's not like you're dealing with a person, you're dealing with an algorithm. So how does the algorithm change what is trending? You know what I'm saying? Like if you needed if you needed hashtag to make the algorithm kind of spin in your favor, what has happened to the algorithm to change and say, oh, you don't need 15 hashtags anymore, you just need 2? Like what has changed? It's the machine itself saying, these are the things that I require now, as opposed to what happened in the past. Let me jump on something real quick you said about local versus global. When it comes to data, if a person says they want to have data analysis, which is what I do, data analysis, one of the first things I do is I start asking them questions to kind of define exactly what they're looking for. Because you're right. I mean, you think about when you go online, you just think I'm appealing to everyone, everyone in the world. My art is appealing to everyone, but you're not. Your particular art, which, by the way, if people have not seen your art yet, we're gonna put a link to your Instagram page. Angela has some really interesting art there. I don't always understand it, but a lot of it really speaks to me. It's really, when you look at it, you get it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't know I get what it means to me, but I don't get what your intent was. It's very strikingly beautiful, thought-provoking art. But again, I digress. When you create art, you're actually appealing to a certain segment of people who, first of all, they like art. Some people don't like art. They don't, they don't want to go to a museum or anything like that. So that kind of strips away certain people. You're looking at people who may like contemporary art versus abstract art. So you're segmenting yourself further and further and further and further down. So when you really think about it, you are only appealing to certain segments. You're not appealing to 7 billion people. You're appealing to maybe 15 million across the world that are actually engaged in looking for art, looking for unique pieces of art, looking for unique designs on shirts or mugs or cups or whatever, flags or banners, whatever they're looking for. You're trying to reach those people. And then how do you do that? What's the key word that appeals to them, that makes them find you?
Yeah. For instance, like eRank, I think that's what it's called. I get a email from them every once in a while about trending a keyword. There's search words. And one, it might be wall art. Another time it might be wall decor, so like,
Mm,
we're working on this all online. I think we forget that there was a time when people just went door to door, just made their presence known within their local community. And I haven't really done that at all. Yeah, I'm definitely going to register, on anywhere I can for as a local business. If I could afford it, I think I would hire a social media person to come in and get me up to date, but it's just not within my budget right now.
I'm glad you said that because, and we're talking about, for people who are watching this or listening to this, we're talking about article that prior to this meeting, Angela sent out to myself and to Holly for us to read in preparation for this meeting. The article was really good. It covered a lot of different things. Me, it was overwhelming. Like, it was like, okay, I can't do all of this. You can do the keyword thing. That the keyword thing, I can do that. I can start with there. But some of these other things, I'm like you. I felt like I just want to hire somebody. I would just hire somebody to maintain this for me. If I had the money, I would hire someone for Fiverr, like a contractor or someone part-time, because it can be overwhelming. Like you have to do your regular job. Like I have a regular job, plus I want to do my own business, plus all these other things that go on in life. You just don't have enough time to learn something new and to make it work. That becomes a thing all of it's by itself.
I think part of success is learning to who you should delegate
Yeah.
some of these things, because we can't be experts in everything. And it's really hard to wear all those different, to be in all those different roles at once, especially for a creative person, because you just want to sit back and make your work.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw your recent one on Instagram with the fish, with the woman, and like the fish was eating the woman that's in the water, right? It was like
Oh,
she, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is like very detailed. Like, did she just draw this? Did she just make this, or was it something you already had already?
No, I drew, I hand drew it all, but I'm using an app called Procreate.
Okay.
It's basically just for your iPad. It's a digital, it's a blank piece of paper, on the screen, and then I
Hmm.
use an Apple Pencil
Okay.
to illustrate the image. And working that way, well, for one, I don't have to do so many. I can kind of edit the drawing as I
Hmm.
go,
Hmm.
because I can try different things out on the drawing by adding layers and removing layers.
Okay.
And I like how bright the reproduction is,
Mm.
crisp and clean, versus photographing my artwork, which I've done in the past.
Going back to the SEO thing for a second,
Mhm.
do you think now that you know a little bit more about like the keywords and things like that, does that influence the art that you make? Forget about the title and the
Uh-huh.
words that go along with it, because the fish to me, when I saw it, just the shape of it, it reminded me of Asian art. Because in Asian art, some Asian art, they have like those koi fish.
Mhm.
And I saw that, and it was big. It was kind of like a full, it was like a robust kind of fish. I said, that reminds me of a koi fish that I would see in like some Asian type of art. And then the
Mhm.
woman in the water being swallowed by the fish. I didn't get that at all. I didn't know what it was about. But the fish itself, though, I was drawn to it simply because it reminded me of Asian types of art. And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering now, though, with this keyword, especially now with the Lunar New Year in China, does that influence like the words, like the popular trending words right now? Does it influence or could it influence the art that you would make?
It might be helpful, actually, if it did. In my training, I've been taught to be as kind of tap into some kind of creative force, and what comes to my mind. I've learned not to question,
Hmm.
but I also try not to force an idea, like, oh, I'm going to draw a dragon for Chinese, for
Yeah.
this new year.
Uh-huh.
Just because I've found that when I set out to do something with a lot of intent like that, the image doesn't look very fresh. It doesn't
Hmm.
look, it feels kind of oppressed, or like not as true, or something about it just doesn't communicate very well. I'm not sure why. You might get an idea in your head and think, oh, but that doesn't match what's trending right now.
Right.
And then a year, 6 months, a year later, it's all over the place. And you're like, oh, I should have followed my instinct. If you had listened, that would have been your way in. So I try not to question, like, why is it a big fish? Why is it eating the lady? I don't know. That feels right to me in this moment. But yeah, and of course, having a degree in painting, I've absorbed a lot of influence,
Mm-hmm.
probably the Japanese art and
Mm-hmm.
the whole history of art through my studies. So I never know when something's going to come out.
But I'm also thinking though, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this though. I think that if you purposely try to draw something that's trending, right, or
Mhm.
create something that's trending, somewhere in your mind you're saying it has to fit, it has to
Mm,
fit that look that I'm trying to
yeah.
achieve. Whereas how you do it now is like, this is what's in my mind. It just comes out. It doesn't fit anything. Like no one's thinking of a fish eating a woman. Like no. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're trying to fit something in your mind, you're saying, let's put a woman in there. Let's put a woman in there. The fish is eating the woman. You're like, nope, we're not putting a woman in there because that's not what's hot right now. That's not what's going on. I have to
yeah.
put this fish and these flowers or whatever else is going on that makes it trend now. I'm going back to this fish real quick because with your art, like the wolves and the horses that you draw, that seems to be a thing that you kind of go back to every now and then. There's horses and wolves. There's not
Mhm.
a lot of detail in the wolves or the horses. Like you see it and you know it's a wolf. Like that's a pack of wolves, as a bunch of horses. But with the fish, you had a little bit more detail. Like you can see the scales in it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I love the wolves. I don't know what it is about those wolves, but it's like usually you have more than one of them. And it's just something that's like eerie and kind of striking, even though you don't see like the fur and all that kind of stuff. It's still, they're very strong characters. I don't know what it is about the wolves and about those horses, but whenever you have those, I usually go in and just like. I just say like, because I like those the
I
wolves and the horses.
appreciate
There's
it.
something about them that's very striking.
Yeah, I appreciate it means the world, your compliments. I go about my art sort of like an improv actor, like,
Hmm.
just something pops up and I don't question why. I just say, okay, how are we gonna put this to paper?
Okay.
Like, but I think when you strip away details like that, it allows the image to be more of a symbol or to express more of an emotion. Like I think of the wolves as, kind of this hidden power. Yeah, and the horses are sort of either like a repressed sort of freedom, just based on my gender. There's it's a struggle. Well, at least for my generation of women, it's sort of that like you're trying to express yourself fully and with complete freedom, but there's always these opposing forces. Like,
Mm,
women aren't supposed to behave that way. You're supposed to be the nurturer. You're supposed to take care of like, and so they're kind of like manifestations of all of my emotions,
mm,
like the
hmm.
animal. And the fish sort of in that image, it represents like I just feel like the world is consuming me. My grandmother used to say, like when we were kids, just keep your head above the water, like to get through life. And sometimes it just feels like not only is the water pulling you down, but there's, another thing trying to hold you back. And I'm sure you can relate because you and I have been in the same situation
Yeah.
of wanting to be fully independent and follow, our own paths and not have to depend on
Yeah.
having that typical that 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with that, but we have dreams about evolving beyond. We just want to control our own destiny, I think,
Yeah.
which is the spirit of a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of perseverance, and sometimes you do have to fall back on something to meet the needs of your family. That nine to
Yeah.
five needs to cut, and then it's just more frustration because it's like, oh, I was
I was trying to
nearly,
break. I was trying to break away from all of that, and yet,
yeah,
and it makes you. I'm gonna tie that back into the SEO thing because I feel like there was a lot of information in that article. I feel like, especially as you were talking about art, SEO. I don't think it's like a blank thing that you apply all those things to. Like all the things that were in the article. In other words, I don't think they fit for every situation. I
yeah,
think that certain things, like certain things in the article, you take bits and pieces of it and you apply it to your situation and it works because you're visual. The keywords will be a very good thing. And being local, presenting yourself as a local person also is a good thing. For me, with a data as a data analyst, keywords would be a good thing for me as well.
hmm,
But only within a certain thing. Like, don't just have all kinds of keywords, but just be very specific. Someone looking for my services are looking for something very specific. Local is a good thing, but at the same time, I think local would be a good thing. I think I do need to do that. I need to present myself as being local. A lot of services that I want to offer also, like we're having Zoom meeting right now, meeting people through Zoom and negotiating and talking and all that kind of thing with them. But some of those other things that were in the article may not be necessarily something important now, maybe in the future, maybe later on down the road. People who are listening to this who are in small businesses shouldn't feel like do all these steps and you'll have success. I don't think that'll be the case at all. I think that
yeah.
you do the thing that is relevant to you and be patient and watch as those things kind of build upon each other. Don't try to do everything because SEO is just one piece. It's just a piece, another hat that we have to wear. It becomes overwhelming, and when you try to do all of it, it's just too much. You just can't do it. You drive yourself crazy.
Unfortunately, there just isn't one magic, which when I started, I think that's the hardest part is you go in with so idealistic,
Yeah.
so naive, but with all this optimism. And then over time, it's just like you're hammered down. It's like, whoa, like, and and I was just like desperately grasping for any solution,
Any
hoping
solution, yeah.
the
Because
magic.
you see other,
Yeah,
especially the article, for example, it's like you're reading someone who obviously you think is successful, like they did all this stuff and they're successful. How come I can't be that person? And then you see other people who is like, oh, my business, I've been business for 7 years and I'm making, $1.3 million a year now. And like it's like, well, what happened to me? Like like why isn't that
yeah.
happening? Like, am I stupid? Am I dumb? Am I missing something? Is SEO the thing, the magic bullet? So yeah, I mean it does get frustrating, but we're still in it though. That's the whole thing. We're still in it, and we haven't given up. We've actually looked for this meeting that we have support. We're looking for
Mhm.
resources. We're looking for things that we can apply to ourselves and to our business to keep us going. It's going to happen. We have to keep telling ourselves it's going to happen. We can't expect things to happen overnight, and we can't expect it if it doesn't happen, then something's wrong, and I just need to stop.
Yeah, we had discussed that before in our earlier meetings, like when is it time to stop?
Yeah,
But
but
I don't know if
I'm
you
going to say this
can.
real quick. Even I think that if we stop though, Angela,
Mhm.
we would try to find a way to get back in. I'll put it this way: if we stopped, we would be like, okay, I had to stop this, but I really want to do that. So let me try it again. You know what I'm saying? Like we would never be fully
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, I think and even like just over the past year, you and Holly have watched me pivot, lots of times, like let me try this, let me try that. And I've ultimately returned to what I was doing before I began,
Hmm.
which is the art.
Hmm.
But before I was looking at apparel, and then I was looking at becoming certified in some natural healing modalities,
Hmm.
like just like frantically kind of searching. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the beginning and give that a real go. And
You're comfortable with that. That's normal, and it's like a feeling you have. Like this is what I know. This is what I do. And why would I try to do anything else? I this is all I know. And this is where I'm the most happy and the most comfortable. Anyone can come talk to me about art. We will have a good discussion for 2 or 3 days in a row because this is what I love, and it's hard to get away from that if you try to give up on something.
I have to admit that from the very beginning, I've been told, well, you'll never make a living with that. You're going to have to choose another profession to do alongside with that. This is just going to have to be your hobby. Like all my life, I've been, that's been fed into me. And to be honest, I've never given it a proper go, like a real go of it, because I just went in with all these preconceived, like, or these biases because of just, but, and I'm not sure how it's working for you. If you received a lot of discouraging messages along the way, but
sometimes it's not even about receiving discouraging messages. Sometimes not even getting support.
Yeah.
Not even getting encouragement is like almost as bad as not as almost as bad as people telling you, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
That's
I agree. Yeah.
It can go both ways. I think, with you and art and people saying you can't make a living at it, it's like, well, because you haven't tried, like you haven't. I mean, the world is wide open. There people
Yeah.
love art. People love and appreciate good things. So why wouldn't this work? My brother sent me this work of art from a guy. I think he's somewhere in Texas, but I'm sure he was saying to himself, I'm gonna draw this or paint it or whatever he did. And I'm just gonna put it out there, and I'm gonna put it out there, and hopefully someone will buy it. And my brother bought it for me for Christmas. I never heard of the
Well,
guy before, and I'm like, this is really good. I really like it. And I'm sure at the other end of this, the guy who made it probably said, dang, I sold one. Like I actually
yeah.
sold something and someone took it. And that's a really good feeling, like something that you made, like you generated, that you brought into the world has been appreciated by somebody. And that's gotta be a good feeling.
Yeah, I think, we all need that validation. But when you begin your own business, you don't receive that validation for a very long time.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of be our own cheerleader.
Cheerleader. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
And but I kind of feel like becoming an entrepreneur is sort of like a calling,
Yeah.
something in your nature, just you're suited for it. And I think usually we're stubborn. So
You always bring up good things in our meetings that I want to talk about. The last one, you talked about how you had a vision where you wanted your business to be, and then you had to shift and pivot to what made sense. So that's going to be another podcast we're going to do to figure out, do we like the new thing? And then today it is, you talk about entrepreneurs. I want to really talk about entrepreneurs. Like, what are entrepreneurs? What does it mean when we say we're entrepreneurs? Because I've heard like you had to put in 20 hours a day. If you're an entrepreneur, you had to put in 20 hours a day and 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You're always on. And it's like, I don't want to live like that. So maybe, am I not an entrepreneur? Am I not serious about it? So anyway, I want to talk about that in some other podcasts as well. But I do appreciate this meeting today, this topic today, this SEO thing. Again, I'm going to post a link to the article that you sent over to us, because it was a really good article. I think in our next one, we're going to get back to doing our elevator speeches. If you have an elevator speech that you feel like, if you posted it somewhere, maybe online or something like that, and you want us to have us take a look at them to get an idea of how we should do ours or critique yours, put those in the comments. Of course, send us your comments, like us, and subscribe so you'll know when our new podcast will be coming out. We do appreciate listening in today. And Angela, if there's nothing else, thank you so much.
thank you.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.